Welcome to the Tub Fantasy Network. We are here to talk about fantasy football and all things fantasy football. I am your host, Cross, with my co-host, Rhett, who is also my big brother. So today, we are excited to kick off the Tub Fantasy Network podcast, video series, whatever you want to call it. We'll be talking a lot about general fantasy football, rest of season stats, who we think is going to come out on top, as well as very specific fantasy football within our home league, the Tub. So today we're going to be looking at playoff projections for our league, the top 12 for the rest of the season at each position, our starts of the week, and just kind of a recap of last week.
Yep.
So starting off, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, yeah, we can just go ahead and let's get started with recaps of week 8.
So first off, from the Thursday night game, we had Falcons at Panthers. Falcons came away with a 25-17 victory. I
forgot that game even happened.
Yeah, it was right before Halloween. Lots of other crazy stuff kind of in the back of my head. But I was really sad because Christian McCaffrey did not make a comeback, and I just got to see 4 quarters of pathetic Mike Davis as he has begun to fall off. Overall,
Calvin Ridley got hurt.
Yeah, I was going to say
so that wasn't great.
That's pretty tough.
For me, especially.
Calvin Ridley going down. Julio Jones continuing to do Julio Jones things. Matt Ryan looking fine as long as Julio Jones is in the game. Hayden Hurst is shaping up to be a fine tight end in the wasteland of tight ends that we have. And that's really it. On the Panthers side of the ball, it was really just the Curtis Samuel show as well as that's really it. There wasn't really much to
DJ Moore had a little burst at the end of that game. He was pretty quiet up until the very end, and he had that one long catch. But otherwise, he was goosing.
Yeah, I was looking at DJ Moore, and he had 0 points going into like the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah,
and he caught like a 45-yard pass, and I was like, oh, there he goes, just kind of jumping.
Robbie Anderson, he kind of crapped the bed. I mean, 7.3, but
yeah, not really much to
points,
like
just
here.
not anything else to like out of that game.
Todd Gurley did fine, 18 carries for 46 rushes.
If he doesn't get that touchdown though, he just has a terrible week.
Yeah, but that's kind of been the story for Todd Gurley all year. I mean, he hasn't really busted off a ton of big plays this year. 11 yards was his longest in this game, and I believe his longest on the season is somewhere around 20 to 23. I want to say, but I'm not for sure on that.
Is it the one where he scored and didn't mean to?
Yeah.
Or that was like within the 10.
Yeah, that was just kind of.
He did something like that again this week. He ran out of bounds, and they were trying to run the clock.
They needed to run the clock out, but yeah, not really a whole lot to look at in this game. I mean, if you have Julio Jones, you're excited. 7 receptions for 137 yards, just continuing to show why he is the best receiver in the league. Hayden Hurst is fine. Probably brought you in around 10 points if you're in a full point PPR situation. Calvin Ridley. Also, I don't know if you've been keeping up with that since you're a Calvin Ridley owner, but they are worried it is that's just your typical Liz Frank injury, which is no bueno, and will probably put him out for 4 to 5 weeks if that is the case.
Awesome.
So,
perfect.
I don't know.
I haven't really kept up with it a whole lot, if I'm being quite honest.
Yeah, I'm not a doctor, but for all the Calvin Ridley owners out there, it's not looking super
Last
great.
update I see is he's just day-to-day. They did an MRI, and they're considering him day-to-day with a midfoot sprain. Well, but that was on Friday, so I haven't heard anything updated this week.
Well, that is good news for the Calvin Ridley owner. So, moving right along, we have the Saints in Chicago playing against the Bears. A pretty gnarly little overtime win. Will Lutz just kicking home the game for a final of 26-23 in favor
in
of
OT. In OT, the Bears are a bad 5-3 team.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't ever expect much out of them. We had this conversation at lunch the other day where it's like, here's David Montgomery's floor, and here's his ceiling. It's like synonymous.
Yeah, they're
with
just
each other.
like they're touching.
Not super great.
Me and you couldn't fit in that room with the floor and the ceiling that he brings. We could not walk through the door.
Not a whole lot to like. Allen Robinson, he's going to continue to be great. 6 receptions for 87 yards and a touchdown. He had that beautiful diving catch in the end zone, I believe is in the second or third quarter, right before halftime.
I saw a stat earlier. It was all of Allen Robinson's starting quarterbacks since he.
Oh yeah, it was on I think Sports
Came
Center
the
put it on
starter
Instagram.
Yeah, let me see. That's just bad. There's just no one of any kind of
it's not a fun
success
stat.
or prowess. I mean, his Mitch Trubisky. I don't have it pulled up. I'm trying to remember. Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles. He had Blake Bortles,
And
Chad Henne. Just, I mean, he does well with those kinds of QBs. Makes do with what he can. But imagine him with like anyone competent, any kind of top half of the league quarterback.
Yeah, he would definitely be a good receiver for sure. But on the other side of the ball, you have Alvin Kamara continuing to do Alvin Kamara things. A measly day of 12 carries for 67 yards on the ground, but coming in big time for 9 receptions for roughly 100 yards through the air. So you're not playing Alvin Kamara for what he's going to do on the ground. He's going to beat you through the air every week.
He's the wide receiver 12 on the season.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Considering even now running
That's
backs
like
are pretty
2017, 2018 Todd Gurley stats.
Yeah.
Like he was a wide receiver 1 and a running back 1.
Yeah. It's also
Kamara is very similar.
Speaking of the Saints, it's very evident that they miss Michael Thomas, especially with Emmanuel Sanders going out due to COVID restrictions. And Tre'Quan Smith is just not getting it done for him. Last year they had a bunch of practice squad guys come up and get the job done, but the Saints are going to be fine, I believe. This conference is just not looking to be anything super tough. The Falcons, like we just talked about earlier, the Panthers are not great, and then we'll get into the Bucks. I mean, you'd think so, and then the NFC East is coming up, and they're chomping at the bit.
So before we leave the Saints, I want to talk about Taysom Hill. We talked about this before we actually started recording, and I was looking at in our ESPN scoring. I was looking at the top 12 tight ends of this past week, and Taysom Hill is number 3. He's listed as a tight end. You can play him at tight end, running back, or quarterback. He had 13.5 points. I mean, he had 2 catches for 30 yards and a touchdown, 5 rushes for 35. He didn't throw any balls, but, I mean, just the little Swiss Army knife gadget player of Taysom Hill, he might be able to solve some of these fantasy problems at tight end that a lot of our league and a lot of other people's leagues have. Let me see what he's at on the year.
I don't know.
But if Michael Thomas continues to be out, like that might be something like reasonable. I mean, no, it's not. It's absolutely not.
Yeah,
disregard everything I've just said.
I love Taysom Hill as a player. I love him as a guy. He's very explosive. Just kind of fun to watch. You know, he's in the game. Something weird is going to happen, but I'd much rather take my chance on Mike Gesicki just throwing me a big fat donut on the week than throwing Taysom Hill and it's like, what am I going to get with him? So I don't know.
What if Gesicki? Did he have anything this week?
He had 1.2. I think he had 1 reception.
His past 2 weeks, he had 1.3 total points.
Oh man, don't get me started on that. Cowboys and Eagles. Cowboys. None of them are good. It's hard to imagine one of those.
This week you can't. Can you play any of them against Pittsburgh this week?
I think you have to play Zeke just strictly because
I guess you have to play Zeke and you have to play Cooper. But other than that, like I dropped Gallup sadly, and he had the most targets and catches this past week. I don't think it's going to yield anything, especially against Pittsburgh, who is pretty tough on defense.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, Eagles are actually, I think they're getting a little more confidence within them. And this is a game without Miles Sanders, mind you. And of course, it's against the Cowboys, but they get to play the Cowboys again, play the Giants again, and the Redskins again. So not anything that they're looking to be super fearful of once you get Miles Sanders back and fully healthy. Travis Fulgham, he's just a Travis full-grown man, basically. He's insane. Jalen Reagor looked really, really good. I think he only had 2 receptions on 3 attempts and then a rush. But he did get a touchdown, which is nice to see him coming back from first the UCL and now the thumb injury. So I don't know. The Eagles are shaping up to be pretty good. If only Carson Wentz can be.
Carson Wentz is just really bad.
He's something. Just the string of bad luck.
Him over against that awful, really bad Dallas defense. He had 2 picks and 2 fumbles.
Hey, Trayvon Diggs says otherwise.
Trayvon Diggs didn't make him fumble.
That's true.
That Dallas, he's the number 8 quarterback on the season for our fantasy league. So he puts up numbers. He put up a lot of numbers consistently of the past from weeks 3 through 7. They're on the bye. They have the Giants and then the Browns and then the Seahawks. So that's a solid slate that he can put up some points. They need Sanders back. Hopefully some of the linemen can get healthy.
Yeah. Jason
Dallas
Peters went down
Goedert
again.
I don't know.
Not a good deal. NFC
I don't have any Eagles players. I'm not the only one I would want is Fulgham. I don't even really want Miles Sanders to be honest.
I'm not super excited about the fact that I have Carson Wentz as my starting quarterback. But that's how the dice fell. So moving on over, we have the Patriots and the Bills. It was a snowy game, not a fun game to play in. Cam fumbled the game away, unfortunately. As a Damian Harris owner, I was extremely happy. This was the second time in his 3 or 4 game tenure that Damian Harris has looked really, really good.
He's looked solid.
Second time rushing over 102 yards. Bill Belichick loves him. He got in the end zone this time on a 27-yard touchdown run. He looks. I honestly I'm very content with having him. I think Cam is just going to continue to show that he is not going to be consistent. They did get Isaiah Ford today off the trade deadline, which I think could help him out a little bit because he's a promising young receiver in Miami. But nevertheless, the
problem with that is Cam just can't throw.
Yeah.
I don't care how good the receiver. Well, that's not true. But the receiver needs to be just like a baller, like a top 4 guy, like a Hopkins, Julio, somebody like that. Because Cam just can't throw well at all. His only startability is his goal line touchdown carries.
And I mean, he had 18.
He doesn't have that.
The fumble at the end, so it's unfortunate.
He was with that. He was the top. He was the 11th QB on the week with those bad stats.
But I mean, even with it's crazy because Cam plays the Jets this week. He'll play the Bills again in the before the year is over. I think Cam is fine depending on who you need. I'm unfortunately playing him this week since Carson Wentz is out. But that's really it. Josh Allen, it wasn't necessarily a game that you wanted to throw in. He had John Brown back, and it looked a little bit better. Unfortunately, John Brown was not very active at all. Zach Moss and Devin Singletary actually looked pretty good, both of them in this game. Still don't know if I'd be confident starting either one of them going forward, unless you absolutely had to, because I know you probably.
I don't have it. High. I don't have it pulled up, but I would rather have Moss over Singletary. Singletary got 1 catch, Moss got 1 target, but Moss got all the goal line work. They gave none of it to Singletary, and the stats show it. He had two touchdowns. They had the same carries, almost the same yards, but those 2 touchdowns really make the difference. And those goal line touches that he gets are what's going to put him steps above Singletary, in my opinion. And my cat's in my way.
I think another big thing is Josh Allen is just so mobile and he uses his legs so well that he's.
Allen also had 10 carries.
He's gonna have right here 10 carries for 23 yards and a touchdown. It's really hard to argue with that. Kind of like how Cam Newton is. You wouldn't necessarily be too confident starting Damian Harris unless you're in a pinch, just like you are with Singletary and Moss. But continuing on, next we have the Raiders at the Browns.
This game sucked.
Yeah, this game was not fun as as a whole for football. It was one of those games where just like an ice storm coming in. I know you have Josh.
I was watching the weather. I was watching the weather all Sunday and Saturday, and it just kept getting worse and worse. I was going to play Aguilar, but with the weather being so bad, I just couldn't play him, and I had to play a Jets player. But Jacobs was fine. He got 12.8, but he had 31 rushes. Mm-hmm. That's insane. That's more than the Browns as a whole had.
Yeah.
Aside from Jacobs, Carr, he didn't really have much. There was nothing really playable in this game for fantasy wise.
Not a whole lot to talk about there. Browns will probably be fine. They get Nick Chubb back after the bye, presumably.
Let's see. Who did the Raiders play this week? They play the Chargers, and the Browns are on bye. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Chargers will be. The Chargers defense isn't what everybody thought it was. They've lost a lot of players. So I think the Raiders can score. You can play your Raiders players. I probably will.
Yeah, Derek Carr for sure. Josh Jacobs for sure. Everybody else.
Darren Waller for sure.
Dependent. Yeah. Going on the Colts and Lions. Colts, just a weird game. Another one if you had Jonathan Taylor, then you were very, very sad. I had Carson Wentz, Jonathan Taylor, and Kareem Hunt, so I was in a pretty.
You're a big boat of sadness.
I was a big heap of sadness all weekend.
Yeah, our group chat really. You let us know.
Yeah,
how sad you were all day.
It was not exciting to watch, but Phillip Rivers, he's gonna be crowning himself as the king of football. Not really. If it wasn't for Nyheim Hines running in for 29 yards on a little bubble screen, then he would only have, I think it's like 100 and something yards, or 200 something yards and 1 touchdown. But I don't know. The Colts are fine. The defense, they continue to look really, really good. I think that they're not necessarily dark horses because everybody knows they're good, but there's just so much uncertainty in that backfield that I don't know what to make of it. I still personally think that Jonathan Taylor will be the workhorse in it. Nyheim Hines, obviously, he's going to get the passing down work, but Jordan Wilkins did look fine in this game, but you go back and you look at the rest of his games that he's played in, he just has not made a whole lot.
Well, the thing about that is neither has Taylor, really, and he's had way more opportunity.
Taylor, I will say that he hasn't been like a top 12 option like you're really, really wanting him to be, but he also hasn't really let you down. He's a lot like David Montgomery. I just think he has a higher ceiling in that regards, just because I think
he just isn't. He's just not what he was drafted at, and kind of not what people anticipated him being. He might get to that point. I mean, he is a rookie. I don't expect. There's not many Zekes that come out or Saquons that come out. I guess even Cook, for example, but he kind of got hurt. Yeah. And now Taylor is hurt. I don't know. Their backfield's very confusing because they don't – it's kind of like San Francisco. There's not really just like this is the number one clear cut. It's kind of who is Frank Reich feeling that week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you can't really pick. Like you just have to play Taylor and hope for the best because Wilkins isn't reliable enough. Hines probably isn't reliable enough either.
Mm-hmm.
None of their pass catchers are playable at all.
Yeah, I would definitely, as unfortunate as the backfield situation is, I will still be playing Taylor this week against the Ravens. I know the Ravens defense is good, but Marlon Humphrey did go on COVID IR, which I know that he's a cornerback or a safety, but even still, that affects all aspects.
He's like a slot corner though, so it's a little different.
So I don't know. I think James Conner and the Steelers exposed a little bit of that running defense there. As far as the Lions side, Kenny Golladay goes out with a hip injury. The timetable for his return is not really clear. They are expecting him to miss week 9.
Yeah.
Other Lions.
I saw 3 or 4 weeks, I think, earlier today. That wasn't set in stone, but their leading rusher had 1 carry for 11 yards.
Yeah, that's
that backfield's a mess.
Yeah, that's you think the Colts are bad? Just get a taste of those.
God,
those lines up
DeAndre Swift had 6 carries for 1 yard.
Yeah,
he just kept. I mean, he had more than that. He had a 5-yard run, but he just kept getting stuffed and caught behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, not much to look at, not much to glamour over in the Lions side. So,
can you play Marvin Jones? I played against him last week and I didn't like it. But going with Golladay out, could you play him?
The Saints
or Marvin Hall, maybe. I think they play the Saints this week.
Play the Vikings this week. Yeah, I'll go ahead and say you can play Marvin Jones. I think you'll probably have to, honestly.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something.
And Hawkinson.
I mean, you play
obviously
Hawkinson.
You'll play every week, really.
Hawkinson's fine. Vikings and Packers. Vikings took down Green Bay with a stitched together defense. I don't know how they stopped it.
What's Green Bay's deal? Like, what happened? Does Aaron Jones being out, is that really that important to them?
Well, I don't think so, because looking at the stats, it's like Jamal Williams did fine, like 75 yards on 16 carries.
Yeah.
And then he had 27 yards to the air on 6 receptions. So, I mean, it's not like he's tanking or he's not doing anything for the team. I just think that, I mean, first off, their run defense is abysmal, and Dalvin Cook is just he's a champion.
That's true. That's true.
This is a pure-blooded, like, man.
Grown adult.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. So, yeah, if you played against Dalvin Cook, you didn't have a good time. I wouldn't really expect that from Dalvin Cook. much more. I mean, 163 yards and 3 touchdowns is pretty immaculate, and that's just running, not even to account for his reception work. But yeah, the Vikings they're something. I mean, they're not going to beat you like that too often. Would have expected a little more from the Packers, but man, and Jamal Williams. Go ahead.
They have a really good matchup this week. I want to say they play
Detroit. We just discussed that.
Oh, we did discuss that. Yeah. So yeah, I mean the Vikings. Cook could have a similar day as he did this past week. But imagine having Cook and then losing. Like having that 46-point cushion and then losing.
Kind of like what happened in our league this week.
Yeah.
That's rough. But
man.
Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, again, not really doing much. I saw a fun little stat on Justin Jefferson the other day. Every game that he has put up double-digit points have been played in a dome. And every game that he has suffered has been played in the elements. And do you want to take a guess on where they are playing this week?
I'm going to guess it's a dome.
It is indeed a dome. So guess who should be playing Justin Jefferson this week?
Everyone.
All the Justin Jefferson
that hasn't.
I would say play Justin Jefferson.
I mean, you're playing him anyway, but especially play him in a dome game.
Yeah, he's just got too high of a ceiling. He's too polarizing to not play him. Aaron Rodgers, he'll be fine. He's going to be consistent. You just desperately need Aaron Jones back, and you need to get some defensive help stat. Chiefs and Jets, don't even really want to talk about it. The Jets are garbage. The Chiefs, you're pretty much playing anybody they have.
Yeah, the only sucky thing about this is similar to that 2 weeks ago against the Broncos? I don't remember who they played. I feel like they're going to get some like fluky scores, like a defensive touchdown and maybe a special teams touchdown.
Yeah.
And it was Denver, yeah. And your actual fantasy players may not get a whole lot. Like against the Denver, they had 2 non-offensive touchdowns, and then Kelsey had 4 points. And those games just kind of happen just based on how that offense works. So that's kind of what I feel is going to happen this week. It's just something ridiculous like that.
Pretty unfortunate for Patrick Mahomes, owner. 416 yards, 5 touchdowns. Pretty slow day for him. Not a whole lot.
Wait, you said the Chiefs play the Jets?
They played the Jets this past week.
Oh, yeah, they did. I'm going into Carolina. Okay, never mind. Disregard what I said. That didn't happen.
Clyde owners and Lev Bell owners, you have to hold on to both of them. You have to temper your expectations. I mean, I can't.
But you're sad.
Yeah, you are sad.
Your expectations are sad.
You drafted both of those guys within the top first 3 rounds. Probably drafted.
You drafted both of those guys in the first 2 rounds.
Clean. I have neither one of them anymore. And I'm very thankful for that. But, man, looking at the Rams and Dolphins game, it was something else. Tua got the win in his first official career start, but it was very little to do with him and a lot more to do with the Dolphins' defense.
God.
It's crazy.
Yeah. The Dolphins are confusing.
They have a top 10 defense, and I don't know why. I don't know why you wouldn't continue to roll with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's starting to click with people. Myles Gaskin is really getting situated into the offense. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But I understand looking at it, if you're going to start playing people like Kansas City or the Bills in playoffs or something like that, you don't really think Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to win you those clutch games or win you a Super Bowl. Whereas Tua in 2-3 years could potentially have you as a Super Bowl contender. So I understand wanting to get him reps now, but it just seems like a very, very weird time to do that if you're in Miami.
So Miami plays Arizona this week.
Yes.
What do you think about the Arizona offensive players? I mean, you're obviously playing Kyler. You're obviously playing Hopkins.
You're playing Chase Edmonds. 100%.
Yeah, and you're playing Chase Edmonds. But like the Christian Kirks. Well, the Christian Kirk.
Yeah, I think.
Do you fade Kirk?
No, I think you can. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, you can see what Kupp and Woods did this week.
Yeah, they did fine. So I think playing Kirk is a safe bet. My only concern is with playing them is the Rams. They didn't have a whole lot to work with on offense. They're just. I think they're a very, very. They're a good team. I don't think they have the most outstanding offense. But the Cardinals are a completely different story. DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray have been absolutely incredible, along with Chase Edmonds now taking over that lead role. I think he's going to be probably top 12 until Kenyon Drake gets back.
Can you play Miles or Matt Breida? For the Dolphins?
Absolutely.
Because Myles Gaskin is out.
Oh, he is?
Yeah. He has a sprained MCL. He's out multiple weeks.
Really? I did not know that. Wow.
It was a late announcement today.
Wow. I guess I just missed that.
Yeah, it was like late this afternoon, like 4 o'clock.
Yeah, I guess. I wouldn't be excited about it, though.
This is going to be interesting for Tua because, I mean, you kind of thought that LA would be his real test, like a good test, and he got smacked by Donald, like, right off the bat. But he didn't have to do a whole lot. Yeah. He just kind of had to manage the game.
Yeah.
And I guess he did a fine job. I didn't watch that game.
I mean, he put up 0 points in the second half. Not really a whole lot to be super excited about. He did fine.
Yeah, but they just fed the ball to Gaskin in the second half.
Right. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot on his shoulders. I think Matt Breida is probably fine because he's going to get a lot of work out of the backfield. I think the Dolphins are going to get down. I think they're going to get down early and be looking to pass the ball. So I think Devontae Parker's fine.
Gesicki.
The tight ends are horrible right now. Gesicki is one of those horrible tight ends. I think you can probably play Gesicki.
Preston Williams, if you're desperate.
If you're desperate, you can play Preston Williams.
Maybe. They're just going to pass a lot. That's kind of their assumption here.
But we really have no idea on how Tua is going to do. But
yeah.
So.
Okay.
Steelers and Ravens. Steelers came out with a very, 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 very good win against a very, very, very subpar Lamar Jackson.
They came back, too. They were down 10 and had to come from behind. Mm-hmm. And then just shut down Lamar in the second half. He is struggling.
He's like the 31st worst passer rating in the league right now.
He had a 12.5 QBR rate this week.
Which is just not – I mean, you're not getting the rushing you expected from him. I did see that he has in all of his games playing the Steelers, he has 3 touchdowns, both running and through the air, 5 fumbles.
Well, 2 of those were this past week.
Yeah. I think it's total of 29 passing yards, something crazy like that, and only like 30-something rushing yards. So he's not good against the Steelers, and unfortunately, they have to play the Steelers again later on in the year, which is not something I'd be super excited about.
Their offense it just doesn't – I don't know. Like, he didn't pass a lot last year, but he was really efficient when he did pass. Yeah. And that's just not here. I don't get to watch a lot of their games. Because they play early and we're normally not at the house by that time. But is his decision making just really bad? Because I'm looking at the box score and they had 47 rush attempts between J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, and Jackson. And he only threw 28 times.
Yeah. What's bad is that he is just – I mean, I said it last year towards the end of the year whenever the Titans shut him down. It's like they're going to just stack the box and force him to throw.
And make him beat you.
Because the thing is with all these quarterbacks, like you look at Cam Newton now. Cam Newton is he's a perfectly good runner. He has shown that he still has it with his legs, but he can't pass. You look at Michael Vick. Michael Vick's what started to go out first was not his legs, it was passing. And then you look at the other big-name quarterbacks like Robert Griffin III. Obviously, he was a lot of injuries that came into factor with that. But the thing is, Lamar Jackson is not going to be able to run forever. And I think he took a lot of the league by surprise last year, and they weren't really expecting it. But this year, teams have more time to prep on him. They know how to stop him. And it doesn't help that he is just not accurate at all. So I think his accuracy is just bad. Hollywood Brown he made the tweet, but he quickly deleted about how he's very, very frustrated with what's going on.
Yeah. So what about Josh Allen? Because Josh Allen started off this year hot. He was lighting it up. Top 3, top 5 fantasy QB. He was throwing really well. Everybody thought his throwing accuracy was improving, but over the past few weeks, he's been really just bad in terms of passing, and his rushing hasn't quite been there either. Is this a similar situation with him, or he's just been missing John Brown a lot? Maybe.
I think it's definitely the lack of John Brown. Like, I think Josh Allen is still a good quarterback. I think he's still going to be a top 6-7 quarterback on the year. But I think just the fact that John Brown, nobody really understands how much those vertical threats do for your team. So John Brown, if he's not in the game, there's really no one to open up the field like that. Then Stephon Diggs and Zach Moss, the people that are supposed to catch it underneath. Tyler Kroft, Dawson Knox. Tyler Kroft isn't on the Bills, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, like Cole Beasley and those other guys.
Yeah, like there's just not a whole lot to do for them because then your safeties just play in, they play closer, and so I think missing John Brown has really really hurt. But again, his accuracy has tanked a little bit, so I think he'll pick it back up.
He's got Seattle this week. Yeah. John Brown's back. If this is any week to turn it around, it's this one. Yeah. So I guess this is kind of going to be the test of his growth.
I mean, he's going to have to run. He's going to have to throw. I mean, Russell Wilson is just an absolute maniac with the football in his hands.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Russell Wilson, the Seahawks versus 49ers, I mean, my heart goes out to 49ers. It's unfortunate. The whole team is down. Kittle's out 8 weeks. Garoppolo's out 6 weeks. Probably just going to hold him out the rest of the year to heal that ankle. Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman, the list goes on and on and on. But nevertheless, you're going to play Brandon Ayuk, and you're going to play whoever the top 2 running backs are for the 49ers.
You can't. I don't even think you can play the McKinnon anymore. He got the touchdown. His stat line is 3 rushes for -1 yard and a touchdown, and then 4 catches for 40 yards. I just don't. I guess you can play. Who do they play? I don't remember who they play. They play Green Bay. Maybe because they're going to be down, probably.
I think if you wanted to play him, you could definitely play him this week because Green Bay has a very, very porous run defense. But I think if you wanted to sit him, it's probably not a bad idea either and make him prove to you that he's going to get that spot back.
As a Mostert owner and a Coleman owner, seeing Coleman go out really made me sad because he looked really good to start out. I mean, he only had 3 carries, but those 3 carries were nice.
3 carries for 20 yards.
And then it's really, the same thing that he was out on.
It's really sad, but I don't know. It's unfortunate. Seahawks, I mean, Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf are just ridiculous.
You play Russ, you play DK, you play Lockett, you play Chris Carson.
If he's healthy. Or, no, you play whoever's the leading back in that backfield. Because DJ Dallas, he had 20 points. I think he had 2 touchdowns and a good, 60-something rushing yards. 41 rushing yards, actually, on 18 carries.
7
so
yards.
You're going to play whoever that is. Chris Carson's expected to be back this week.
He's a dog.
For Carson owners. I think he's probably going to end up being top 12 for the rest of the year.
He was last year.
Yeah, moving on to the Chargers and Broncos. Man, the Chargers are they're rough on defense. They're rough in the second half. It's unfortunate.
Those poor Chargers.
Yeah.
Man.
Can't catch a break. Justin Herbert, is playing exceptional. I think
you play Herbert, play Mike Williams, you play Keenan Allen, you don't play anyone else.
You play Hunter Henry.
4 for 33?
Yeah. Well, who else are you gonna? What other tight ends are you playing?
I mean, it depends. I guess it depends on your tight end situation, but he hasn't been good. He hasn't been a top tight end since week 5. He's only had double digits twice this season.
Yeah, but how many tight ends have had double digit points more than twice? Not a whole lot that you're overly excited about.
That's fair. He's just. I guess if you have him, you play him.
They're gonna throw the ball a lot. The Broncos, they are just a dumpster fire, but somehow they're 3-4. I don't really see
won the game.
Yeah.
So Phillip Lindsay's a better running back than Melvin Gordon, and I don't think that's going to change the rest of the season. I feel like Gordon is just going to be the second fiddle.
I don't know. I think it's going to be a few more weeks before that's clearly decided. I think Lindsay is the better running back, but I do think they paid a lot of money for Gordon. I can't see them just sitting him yet. Gordon did get the lion's share of the carries this week, and plus he is coming off. Of that
he had 8 carries to Lindsay's 6.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's lion's share.
Lion's share.
But in a game that they weren't really running the ball a lot, but he did have a big.
They had 6 catches.
Yeah, he did have a big catch to extend the drive in the fourth quarter that ended up winning them the game. Melvin Gordon. I think what's going to end up happening, I think this week he was coming off that alleged illness, and I think that he had a lot going on mentally
alleged
going
illness.
on with that DUI he got. I think there's just a lot of outside imposing forces with him. I think he's going to be fine. He's going to get you about 10 a game, and the occasional game probably bump you up to about 15 to 20. Wouldn't really be excited about it. I think he's probably just a low-end RB2, high-end RB2.
Denver plays Atlanta, so play everybody you can. Play Lindsey, play Gordon.
Would you?
Yeah, I mean Atlanta's they're gonna sling the ball.
Atlanta's
they're gonna
run
score.
Defense is stout.
They don't have to run. You see that last week. Both of those running backs are good pass catchers.
I'm not arguing that you don't play him, but I'm just saying I don't think you play anybody. Like I'm not going out. I'm not slinging Tim Patrick in my lineup or Jerry Jeudy.
I would put Tim Patrick. If Tim Patrick plays, I would put Tim Patrick in as he would be the wide receiver 1 for the Broncos. I have him. I'm gonna play him if he's healthy. Before he got hurt and was out, he had 3 double-digit games in a row.
Yeah.
Like 200-yard games back to back, 2 touchdowns. Like until he got hurt in Kansas City.
I don't know. I think
he was looking good. And Deshaun Hamilton, Jerry Jeudy's been okay.
I think that's
at best.
Stretch. But I mean, you're playing Noah Fant because again, who else is going to save you in this tight end wasteland?
Yeah.
But last game that we're going to cover is Buccaneers and Giants. The Buccaneers coming out very, 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 very close in this one.
They should have lost.
They should have
lost. The Giants should have won this game regardless.
Yeah.
But those refs were like, Bruce Arians is in their pockets, I guess, because those are some awful calls. That was not a pass interference. That was not a targeting call on, I don't remember the defenseman that hit Bright, that didn't even hit Bright. Bright led the hit with his own head.
Yeah.
And the call was against him or was in his favor.
Yeah.
It was silly.
It was very
Shepard looks great.
Yeah, Shepard looks great. Wayne Gallman didn't look bad this week either. Don't know if I mean, you look at the defenses he has to play in the future. Like he has to play Philadelphia again. He has to play Washington again. Not really super excited about either of those.
Yeah. Daniel Jones looks bad.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is not a franchise quarterback, and everybody knows it. As far as Buccaneers go, you're playing Tom. He's got the most weapons he's ever had at the start of next week. You'll play Gronk because again he is a great tight end. He's tight end, or he's not really touchdown dependent, but he keeps getting touchdowns.
Yeah, he's a top 10 tight end. Yeah. I think the rest of the year. Their wide receivers are so hard because like he threw to 8 different pass catchers this week.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think a lot of those pass catchers go away with the emergence of Godwin and Antonio Brown back into this offense.
Sure, but that's still confusing. Like, as you can kind of see this past week, he just throws to whoever's open. And Gronk will be one of those, so you can play Gronk. And if you play any of those, if you have those other 3 names, you're just going to play them because of what their potential brings. But I don't know if you love it. None of them are wide receiver 1s.
Yeah. I think if
Evans 1 touchdown saved his week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been his whole season.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunate. You're not really confident in any of the running backs in that backfield.
No. Jones messed up in the first quarter, and then Fournette kind of took over.
Yeah.
And Jones will probably start again next week and just wait for another error.
Yeah.
It's confusing, but you can't confidently. I've got to play Fournette due to bye weeks. Jones will still get played due to similar reasons, but I don't love it. It's my flex.
Yeah, it's not really anything that you want to be super.
You don't want to rely on it. Yeah.
Well, that really covers all the games. We did actually miss one. We missed the Titans and the Bengals. Joey B is a
that game was good.
Dog. Titans just kind of fell apart there. Real quick, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon if he's back, or Giovanni Bernard, whoever's in. Playing either of those or any of those guys.
The Bengals have looked better without Mixon. They have performed. They didn't win last week, sadly, but they just looked more explosive on offense without Joe Mixon there.
Well, I think it's the same thing that the Browns experienced last week when OBJ went out. Like they're not pressured to get him the ball, to force him touches. They're just playing football.
They're just trying to score the points. Yeah, just move the ball down the field. You don't have to.
I've never been a Joe Mixon.
They still ran the ball. They still ran the ball a mixed number of times. There were 2 running backs had 25 carries combined, and they both had touchdowns. Bernard had 2. He had 1 in the air towards the end of the game. But they just look better without Mixon on the field. Yeah. They look more explosive, similar to how you said about the Browns. They don't have that weight of we've got to feed this guy touches so he's not whiny, like squeaky wheel type of thing. Yeah. Joe Burrow's legit. I love Burrow. He's fun to watch. Yeah. Boyd's gonna get his. Higgins is gonna get his. Green he was brought back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah.
After his few high weeks. But let's talk about the Titans now. They've kind of been. They're 5-2, but I feel like they should have less wins than that.
No, I disagree. I think the Titans are still a really, really good team. You look back, like they had a great win against Buffalo. They had a really, really close or like a very tight loss against the Steelers last week that I think probably should have been a win. I think that they're fine. Like they have Derrick Henry, and as we continue to see, it's very hard to stop him, even when you're packing the box, even when you're sending everybody. It's not the easiest. And Ryan Tannehill is just playing out of his mind. And he has weapons this year. He has A.J. Brown. Corey Davis has really stepped up. And Jonnu Smith has kind of taken a backseat in recent weeks. But I think with those weapons, they're still going to be a really good team going down the stretch. And I'm confident playing any of those guys that I just mentioned.
I'm not confident in Jonnu per se, but you're going to play him. Because if you don't have Kelsey, it's a crapshoot. Yeah. A.J. Brown had a down week. Still 10 points, but not the 20, 20, and 17 from the weeks prior.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're gonna play all 5 of those offensive weapons. Really, you're play them in. They need to figure out the kicking situation.
Yeah, Gostkowski is. I think he's in his own.
He's struggling. He's got the yips or something.
Something like that.
Okay. Well, we can move on from that recap.
We
kind of hit on a lot of the matchups while we talked about that too.
Yeah, we did talk about most of the matchups and kind of what we're looking for next week. Moving on so we're just a little over the halfway mark of the season, and so now just kind of looking ahead, we've gone through injuries, we've gone through just heartbreaks and frustration. So now I want to look at what we think is the top 12 player at each position for the rest of the season. So starting off at quarterback, Rhett, stop me at any time if you disagree with anybody that I say, and we can go from there. Because the obvious ones, okay. Like this is in no particular order either.
When I did this, I did not know you meant ROS. I thought you just meant top 12 for this week.
In general. Okay. Well.
Okay.
We'll still go off the same premise. Stop me if you think that I am out of reach or out of touch on any of these. So first off, we obviously have Mahomes. He's going to be top 12. Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Tom Brady, Ryan Tannehill, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, and Justin Herbert.
So I don't think Lamar will end up being top 12. And Joe Burrow will. I know you probably didn't think of him because he's on bye this week.
No.
And I didn't have Burrow or Murray listed because they're on bye as well. But Murray's definitely top 12. I think Burrow's top 12. He just throws the ball so much, and he does pretty well too.
Yeah.
But Jackson, like we talked about earlier, at this point of the season, I think it's kind of too late for them to figure it out, or for him to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Let me pull up his. Now, Pittsburgh's obviously super tough, but he just hasn't shown it.
Yeah.
And unless his running figures, unless he just becomes the best running quarterback ever again, I just don't think he's going to be able to keep up with those top guys, especially the ones they're winning, they're slinging the ball around. You got to be able to throw.
It was really hard for me to decide who the final two to get in were because I had Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, and Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow ended up having to get nixed. And it was Matt Ryan kind of close there too, but as long as Julio's healthy, I think Matt Ryan's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson,
looking at Jackson's games ahead too, they're not easy.
Yeah.
He's got Indy. New England they're not what they were the previous years, but
Stephon Gilmore's not happy. He's not playing like he normally is. They're trying to get rid of him. I feel confident in Jackson. I think that he runs too much for there not to be that top 12 in the future. I think he has to get his passing together. He's on a bye week. Not this week. Next week. This week, maybe.
I think it's this week.
His bye week is coming up. Nevertheless, I think he's
going.
gonna.
Oh no, he already had his bye week.
It
was 2 weeks ago.
Oh
yeah.
I don't know what I'm thinking. I think he's got to figure it out. I think the team, they're 5-2 right now, I believe. Their defense is still great. Lamar Jackson has just got to figure it out, and I think he's going to. I think his running is going to kick back up. I think with Mark Ingram out of the equation, they're going to be a lot better as a team with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins running the show in the backfield. And I think it's just going to open up a lot more avenues. For Justin Herbert, the reason I picked him over Joe Burrow is I think both of them are great quarterbacks. I think they are easily the top 2 candidates for Rookie of the Year. I just think that with the situation that the Chargers are in, I think it's going to be a lot more likely for Justin Herbert to keep slinging it more. And I think Joe Burrow's been fine, but I mean, looking at it, like I don't want to play Baltimore again. I would want to play Pittsburgh again. I mean, Cleveland's there. It's actually a really good matchup for receivers, but it's not an easy schedule for Burrow. But I do think Justin Herbert has, from a schedule perspective, a little bit easier of a time. And I think that especially that'll only get better once Austin Eckler gets back in the mix, which they're projecting a Week 11, Week 12 return, because he has no one to throw to out of the backfield. And so once Austin Eckler gets back, that just adds that other layer of this dynamic.
Yeah. Burrow is currently QB 11, and Herbert is 12, and Jackson's actually 13 on the season.
It's tight. It's anyone's race right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, Wentz just looks so bad.
I don't know. I think
he's a top 10 right now. He's number 8. I just don't know. He'll probably stay up there. God, he looks bad.
I have him in there strictly because of the people he's playing in the future. Like, he's going to play Washington again. He's going to play New York again. And he's going to play the Dallas Cowboys again. So I think those matchups I'm not worried about at all.
Yeah, no, he's like, he plays Seattle, he plays Cleveland. He's got some money matchups.
But. Yeah, he's getting his workhorse back as well, which I think is a huge help for him out of the backfield, just because, I mean, running backs we've seen now in recent years that if you have those guys to throw to, I mean, Alvin Kamara's basically single-handedly saved Drew Brees' career this year, and he'll even dipping into years past. But anyways, moving on to running backs, this one was honestly the hardest for me just because there's so many injuries and the situations right now for so many people is just very dire. So correct me if you think that any of these people do not belong, and then we will discuss. But I have the obvious ones of Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, Christian McCaffrey, James Conner, and these aren't necessarily obvious ones now, but then I have James Conner, James Robinson, Miles Sanders, Kareem Hunt, David Johnson, Ezekiel Elliott, and Chris Carson.
So Nick Chubb's supposed to be back this week, potentially.
Next week, technically, since they're on bye.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Do you still think Kareem Hunt will be that high after he comes back?
What's wild?
I know Hunt looked better with Chubb, but when Chubb comes back, they're just gonna.
Well, what's crazy is that with Chubb, so the Browns have this facade of being a good team, but they're really not a good team, and it's very evident in that because Baker Mayfield is still their quarterback. So I think what's going to happen is when they're going to play the Ravens again, they're going to play the Steelers again, even when they already played the Bengals again. What am I saying? But in these games, they're going to get down, and they're not going to immediately just throw Nick Chubb into the middle of all this work. He's going to get his touches, he's going to get his share, because they are going to want to make a playoff run. They are going to want to try and get that wild card spot. But then you look at it, and Alvin Kamara is going to be there on third down. He's going to be there late in the game when they're down by 2 or 3 scores to try and get them back in this game. And I think that's why you saw so much success from him in the first 3-4 games of the year. I think Kareem Hunt is still just a great runner, and so it was hard for me not to.
Where'd you have Chris Carson? Or did you have?
Yeah, he's in there.
Okay.
He was the last one to make it, though.
Gotcha. No Kansas City backs.
No. I'm out on KC backs as far as top 12. Low end or high end wide receiver or running back 2. Excuse me.
Right. Do you think that Carolina rushes back McCaffrey with the way? I mean, Davis is he's taken a step back from his.
Yeah, and you even saw they've been trying to work in Curtis Samuel more because Mike Davis has taken a huge step back from his first 2 weeks. But I think with you're looking at like comparing it to Michael Thomas and even Alvin Kamara last year, like they rushed back both of those players from their high ankle sprain and they did not produce at all. And I think because they invested so much money in Christian McCaffrey in the offseason and because they see how much the high ankle sprain affects players, that they are not going to rush him back. That's why they've been very liberal with this and like, hey, we're going to take your time, Christian, and we are going to ease you back into it. Doctors had the final word. I think he's going to make a debut again this week in Week 9 against Kansas City, and I think they're gonna give him 80% of the touches. I think Mike Davis and Curtis Samuel get a little bit because they've definitely earned some spots, but I don't think that it's going to be like I think you're going to get back to the 20 to 26 point games that you have from Christian McCaffrey. Yeah.
So where do you have David Johnson? Like he's not a barn
there. I have him on there.
He's a consistent player.
I have him on there because Miles Sanders could get hurt again. I have him in the top 12. But Joe Mixon's out, Saquon's out, Zeke is sketchy. So I think David Johnson is about as safe as it gets. You know what you're getting with that Houston offense. Deshaun Watson is just going to be slinging that thing for 4 quarters and just pray that he gets a win every now and again. But I think DJ's fine. Very, very the drop off from 6 to 9, and then there's the 10, 11, and then 12. I think 11 and 12 is a big drop.
Right.
And I also think he's down in that range.
None of the Arizona backs. They're 2.
I want to say I think whoever is in Arizona will be a top 12 back, but I don't have one of them specifically because I think they're going to take too much time away from each other. So I think Chase Edmonds will play 2 or 3 weeks, and then Kenyon Drake will come back, but I don't think he'll be a top 12 back from there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. No other real disagreements there. I believe Zeke is on there. I think he'll still be fine. He's Zeke. Talent's gonna trump opportunity at some point, and his opportunity's still there. His talent is still there. Eventually, when Andy Dalton comes back, or if Cooper Rush comes in and does better than DiNucci, it's kind of hard to say. But moving on to receivers, I have DK Metcalf, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams. I didn't write a first name. AJ Brown, Julio Jones, Tyler Boyd, Robert Woods, Calvin Ridley, Travis Fulgham, Michael Thomas, and Allen.
Robinson. Allen Robinson.
No, not Allen Robinson. Maybe it was Allen Robinson. Who is it?
That's the only Allen.
Oh, Keenan Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Keenan Allen.
Huh. You know Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs, I had him in there, and then I swapped him with Thomas. There at the last minute.
Interesting.
Stephon Diggs hasn't been a top 12 receiver since week 2. Which is crazy.
Has he not?
Yeah, he's had some good weeks. He's
a receiver 6 on the season. He averages 14.3 on the year.
Yeah, he has, let's see, from starting in week 3, it was 33, 16, 19, 16, 50, 23.
Huh.
He's been consistent. He just hasn't really hit that ceiling like he did in the first.
Fair enough. What about Will Fuller? How do you feel about Will Fuller?
I think he's great.
Since the shackles of Bob have left, Fuller's been really good.
The last week you saw him, he had a last-minute touchdown that really saved this week. I'm really just
but that whole team just got throttled by Green Bay.
Yeah,
really.
that's true. But I don't know. Looking at these other receivers, I think Will Fuller's great. I think he's gonna get you some wide receiver 1 weeks. But man, looking at rest of season, who'd you rather have? Will Fuller, Tyler Boyd?
That's partial bias because I just have Tyler Boyd.
I was gonna ask Ridley as well. Travis Fulgham or Will Fuller?
Travis Fulgham.
Yeah. Michael Thomas, Will Fuller. If Michael Thomas is healthy.
I mean, if it's a healthy Michael Thomas, then you always want Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Robert Woods or Will Fuller?
Honestly, I'd probably rather have Will Fuller.
Really?
I mean, Woods is really inflated by his past week in stats.
No, that's not necessarily true. Robert Woods
is
pretty consistent.
It is.
He's had 2 really, really down weeks, and everything else has been very usable. Sean McVay obviously loves him, and he's really, really trying to manufacture ways for him to get the ball. I mean, he gets 3 to 5 rushes a game with those jet sweeps. He scored 3 times from the jet sweep. So I think that just really inflates his stats. Or not inflates it, boosts his stats. But overall, we're pretty in agreement on receivers go. Keenan Allen, we're both in agreement there. He's great. Justin Herbert loves him.
I don't know if I would have Keenan Allen top 12 rest of the season. He's top 24. I mean, wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2 type level.
Okay,
but he's the one that I might. He's on the bottom end of that, I would say.
I gotcha.
Man, Boyd really, he's kind of climbed up. I haven't checked his
I think he's
overall
wide
ranking
8 on the year right now
Yeah.
at half point. So
yeah.
Now moving on to tight end, the best part of it all. I mean, we have Kelsey, obviously, Darren Waller, and those are really the 2 tight ends that you're just like, oh man, I'm so happy to have them on my team. It's great. So I have Kelsey.
Yeah, are you even really happy with Waller?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're happy with Waller.
Okay.
He's the number 1 target for Derek Carr, so I'm happy with him. He'll have some down weeks, but I mean, I played Mike Gesicki 3 times and he got me a total of 5 points. So I'd take Waller in a heartbeat. Let me tell you. So anyways, Kelsey, Waller, T.J. Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, Mark Andrews, Austin Hooper, Hayden Hurst, Rob Gronkowski, Noah Fant, Jared Cook, Logan Thomas, and Dallas Goedert. And I meant to say someone. We talked about someone earlier, and I forgot who it was. Let me see if is there anybody in there that you're just like immediately like, no, I'm not a fan of.
I don't love Jonnu, to be honest. He hasn't had a good week since week 5.
Mm-hmm.
He's had 1 catch. He's had 8 targets over the past 3 games total. And before that, he had 7 targets, 8 targets, 5 targets, 7 targets. He just doesn't have the target share anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's concerning, especially because they have kind of tough matchups going forward.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why they don't play around him anymore. Maybe that's part of the reason that they've had struggled in games is they're not using Jonnu. Because they have lost 2 of these past 3 games.
This is true. Jonnu's also been banged up, so I think that's a little bit to say as well.
True.
But
Jonnu's the only one that I just don't love. I mean, you put him in there because everything besides Kelsey is just a crapshoot, like we said previously. You can't play the Rams tight ends with any kind of confidence.
Yeah, I think if I were to switch out anybody, it would be Jonnu or.
Do you have Jared Cook in there?
Yeah, I had Jared Cook.
Jared Cook, I think he's top 12. He said every week except the week he was out, and then their bye, and then the week against Green Bay he's been pretty solid.
Yeah, I think other tight ends that barely didn't make the cut. Evan Ingram, he's ugly, and I hate him. Not like physically ugly, but the way he plays is ugly. Every catch looks like it's just rough, and he's putting his life on the line, but he's getting it done. He's getting about 10 points a game, so you have to be okay with it. And then also, I am not too opposed to Eric Ebron. He's been fine. Ben Roethlisberger's slinging that thing. The Steelers are great, so I mean you probably can't go wrong with playing him.
They just have so many mouths to feed.
Yeah, but I think it's there's a definite pecking order if it's in there, and so if
so I think Ebron's only viable if Deontay Johnson's out, and not that Johnson plays a slot role that that Ebron kind of fills in. He's just one less hand to touch the football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think that Ebron is super usable. Generally, he's only had 2 double-digit weeks.
Yeah, I think double-digit weeks with tight ends are a rare commodity to come by for sure.
It is.
But that's really it as far as the top 12 goes. Now for the Tub listeners that are in here with us, we have just a little playoff recap. So right now, we have our top 8 teams of Rhett, Binky, Chris, Eric, DeGroat, Simeon, John Mark, and Dakota. But we actually have a 4-way tie for 7th and 8th place, which is John Mark, Dakota, Heath, and myself. It's a crapshoot for who's going to get those last 2 spots. I mean, Clev is right in there in the mix at 2 and 6. Heartbreaking loss. You wonder when that train's going to end, but he's got to start picking up some wins pretty quick if he wants to make it in the playoffs.
Yeah. Let me pull up the standings list. Man, what's the cross? You and Burrell are really struggling on the points.
Hey, I will say I had 3 weeks in a row. I had 3 weeks in a row that just absolutely bit me so hard. I played the wrong quarterback 2 weeks in a row, this week and last week. That got me a loss. I played Cam when he got negative .18. Was not a fun time. But I mean,
Burrell doesn't have a win, and you have 30 more points than he does on the season.
Hey! I have 29.4, so get it right. But
so you have less than I said. Yes.
Hey. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody's pretty much a lock right now. It's gonna be a fight. So I'm pretty nervous, honestly. I'm happy with my team. I'm content with my team. But I am very nervous.
Let's check out the projected bracket.
Projected bracket is John Mark and Dakota make it in, but that's based off of points. Yeah. So I don't know.
If it's based off of points, you're in trouble.
This is true. This is very much true.
You are in trouble.
Yep.
Man.
Yep.
You need some wins. Cleb needs some wins too. I got to string something together.
Yeah.
I don't think Burrell really has a chance at this
Burrell
point.
Would have to probably win out.
Heath, Heath, and Clev are all really close. Clev has scored a lot of points. Like, it's unfortunate that this past week happened to him. He was the second highest scorer on the week.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe and he lost. Be better,
probably. My advice.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anyways, that's going to do it for today. Thank you for watching. We are just over an hour by 2 minutes. So hopefully you enjoy this. If you do, be sure to drop a like and leave a review, leave a comment. Tell us what you do, don't like. Tell us what you'd like to see. Tell us what you'd like to talk about. If you have any questions, start, sit, anything like that, feel free to ask. Follow us on our socials that are down here below. And we will see you next week. So adios.
Peace.